or that there is a reason to stop the show. Additionally, you will hear 3 long horn blasts like this. This is your signal to immediately follow the directions of the museum staff. Stay seated and remain calm until all clear is sounded by a single horn blast like this. Thank you for your attention and cooperation. Safety is our top priority, and your help ensures that everyone has an enjoyable and secure educational experience. Now sit back, relax, and get ready to experience the sights, the sounds, the rumbles of the military vehicles from our historical past in the Canadian Tank Museum's Tank Arena.
Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? We've got some diehards in there. I know we had some rain this morning, but thank you for coming out to Aquino weekend here today on Sunday. We're hoping the rain can hold off so we can put on a good show. Is everyone ready to see some tanks? Let me just check in with our team here. Marshall, roll out the tanks.
Roll out the tanks.
Well, how was that, everyone? All right, that's a way to get started for Aquino Tank Weekend on a Sunday morning. My name is Jeff Darrington. I'm a volunteer here at the museum, and what we'd like to do to start things off, if you could, please stand and remove your hats for the playing of our national anthem. Thank you, everyone. I'd like to kick things off. I'd like to introduce to you the president of the Canadian Tank Museum, home of the Ontario Regiment Museum, Alan Duffy. Welcome, Alan.
Well, thank you all. I guess it's working. There we go. Thank you all for coming out today. 8 a.m. this morning, we thought a little bit of rain with the forecast. No one's going to come. Yesterday, we had about 3,000 people here. The bleachers were full. Well, I want to give you guys are troopers coming out here today, and thank you so much for coming. And there's still so many more people still coming in. There's a line up there. This is so cool given the day. How many people have been here before? Put your hands up. All right, that's about 30%. We got to be doing something right to have you come back. So again, thank you so much. Now, we're a little different. We're a museum, but you're not going into a building and not looking at, things that don't move with a sign and you read about it, and that's kind of nice. We bring history to life. We have reenactors. I would say 90% of our close to 180 armored vehicles and stuff, they run. If we get it and it doesn't run, we make it run. And that's the difference. You're gonna feel, hear, smell these vehicles, and you'll get a sense of what our veterans kind of went through. And I'd like to clarify something. We're not glorifying war. We're not saying war, war, war. What we are doing is honoring the service and sacrifice of our veterans. Let's hear it for our veterans. Now, this wouldn't be possible. We are growing. We have 4 full-time people, that's it. We have 230 volunteers. And for this event, this weekend, there's 170 of that 230 that are actually here over the weekend helping us with parking and with setting up stuff. So let's hear it for our volunteers. And if you like what you see, if you like what you hear and the people you meet, we have a recruitment booth in our Military Vehicle Conservation Center. There, if you feel like you want to be part of our band of brothers and sisters. So feel free to join up. We have friends here from the UK. We have the Gulf War display down there. I'll talk about that a little bit later. We have people from Australia helping us out. You'll notice somebody stuck. One of them put this Australian flag up. Look at this, with a kangaroo. And we have people from the US, and even we have a gentleman from Berlin. You're probably wondering, look at this vehicle, look at this tank on my left, your right. That's a different kind of camouflage. Well, this is a Berlin chieftain. During the Cold War, there was a squadron or 2 of these tanks, and it was in Berlin. And Berlin was surrounded by East German and Soviet forces. So they were there protecting the section that the British held. And coloring it green in an urban environment where there's buildings didn't make sense. So this camouflage pattern is very unique. So this one was actually in Berlin. They came out, it was 91 or 92 when the Iron Curtain fell down and there's no need for them. But this vehicle, we have one of the original crew in there. Matthew Haney, put up your hand, Matt. And beside him is John Seeley. And John is with a number of them. He's in his actually vehicle that he was crewing during the Gulf War. We have 15 or 16 Gulf War veterans, so please make your way down there and see them. We're looking at 2 shows today, 2 big shows. One shortly after this, and then we have another one at about 2:30. And the first one is in Italy. It's a World War II. It's where the Ontario Regiment, and this used to be the Ontario Regiment Museum, and it still is in there for all the static area, the badges and the medals, and we honor them. I'm a former Ontario Regiment officer, as many people here have served in different capacities. We have a lot of veterans that come and help us, as well as that are on our membership or volunteer list. We have 3 in Canada. There's 3 Red Force armored regiments, and one of them is the RCDs, and they're in Petawawa, up near Ottawa. They have vehicles and a display out the back, and we have another one. They're called the 16th or the 12th RBC, and they're from Valcartier. They're the Quebec Armored Regiment, and they have a display in there. And the other one, well, they're way out in Calgary, Strathcona, they couldn't make it. So let's hear for our Red Force counterparts helping us out. So in the back, behind these bleachers, it's a little empty now. We had a lot of torrential rain that stopped. I think we're going to be good for today. And a lot of them, that would have ruined their kit and everything, so they packed up, unfortunately, and they left last night in the middle of the rainstorm. But please visit what we have out there. There's a lot to see. We have remote control tanks as well. They come in every year, they cut the grass down fine, and they take care of the grass, and they're actually running these tanks over there. That's quite a thing to see. We also have more vehicles and stuff on display in our building over here we call the MVCC, and the museum where the badges and the uniforms and the guns are. And we have our gift shop if you want to take a memento I think that wraps it up. Again, I'm so happy you guys made it out today, given the weather. And do we have a group of cadets here? Where are you from?
Brampton.
Where?
Brampton.
Brampton. Well, welcome the Brampton cadets. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Oh, yeah.
And at this point, I'm going to turn this over to the MC. He's our executive director, Jeremy Blowers. There.
Thanks so much, Al. Now, what an entrance that you've been able to make here. You guys are now going to hear all of our vehicles. We obviously have communications, radios, and comms in all the vehicles for safety. So now you're going to hear the commands over the radio a little bit behind the scenes as we get these main battle tanks out. Then they're going to do another lap around, so you could, if you missed it, because we saw a lot of people that were still coming in the gate, so you can hear these machines and you could get some great pictures and or video. And then we're going to check with the marshal, and we are going to tell an important Canadian story from the Second World War. Tankers, tankers, start your engines. Tankers, tankers, on my mark, prepare to pivot. Turn, 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 turn. Now, I'm sure you know about synchronized swimming and synchronized dancing, but how do you like our synchronized tanking? Tankers, roll out. One more lap for the crowd. Well, welcome again to the Canadian Tank Museum and the World of Tanks Tank Arena. So as our marshals are preparing for the big show, I'm going to let you know that these reenactments are exceptionally loud. Not just, you heard those Chieftain main battle tanks and they're loud, but the concussion of the guns, the explosions, the real firearms that you're going to hear and see is as safely as you can get to the conditions of a battlefield, so you can understand exactly the chaos of a battlefield and what our veterans experienced throughout our proud Canadian military history. So we're just waiting for some of the vehicles to get staged back before we get started. And a couple of things just to follow up on what Al was saying. So down there you can see by the DAV Canada Tower, after the show, those gates will open up and you can get up close to all those vehicles, meet the veterans of the Gulf War, and then they will be in the battle reenactment and historical story that we're going to be telling this afternoon at the 2 o'clock show. Now, we're really tracking the weather here, and again, we super appreciate the fact that you guys came out despite the conditions, but at least we won't be hot, right? That's good. We might get wet, but we won't be hot. So again, we plan to go off at 2 o'clock this afternoon, and this is a rain or shine show. So as long as it is safe to do so, as long as we don't have lightning strikes, we will go in the rain if it starts to open up on us this afternoon. So stand by for announcements from the tower station. Now, so many people bring this together. Al was talking about all the volunteers of the Canadian Tank Museum and the veterans and the outside organizations. But to bring history to life, we provide the vehicles. There's volunteers and professional actors who are going to be the soldiers portraying the Canadians, the Germans, the Iraqis, the Allies, and all the different battle reenactments you're going to see. And they are also all volunteers who spend their time recreating history with us. And let's have a round of applause for those reenactors who stayed here so we could teach you these lessons today. Also, again, there's real tanks and real military vehicles, but you're also going to hear and experience real weapons, machine guns, rifles. And those are all supplied by a company outside of Toronto that uses them for movie and television. And this is the Movie Armaments Group. And trust me, after the show, you'll really appreciate what they do. So let's hear it for the armorers of the Movie Armaments Group. Now, we have tanks, we'll have gunfire, but we're also going to have special effects. And we have a special effects movie company also out of Toronto, and they are in the movie and television business, and they are going to help recreate the conditions of a battlefield with different effects on the field. And we actually have some of them, our armorers, in the field here right now for a quick demonstration so that you can see just a taste of what's going to happen in the next few minutes. Armorers, when you are ready. So, amongst all of the different things you're going to see, there's going to be a lot of pop and bang. Let's hear it for the Max Effects and their team. I'm just going to check with the marshal to see if we are ready to go with the finale of the morning show.
What?
Okay, well, they're just starting up the Second World War vehicles and getting the infantry ready. So I'm going to introduce you to the curator of the Canadian Tank Museum, who's going to be narrating the next segment, giving you the historical background and also telling you a bit about some of these vehicles. At least we hear it for our curator, Sam Richardson.
Thank you so much for joining us today, folks, especially despite the weather. I feel a few sprinkles coming down on us now, but I see you're well equipped with your umbrellas and raincoats, so that's excellent. There's an old military expression, it ain't raining, it ain't training, so I'm sure some of you have probably heard that. We are going to get started with the reenactment very soon. wrapping up this parade of second World War vehicles before we get to the reenactment, I encourage you to have some pause for thought here. In Italy, it could be hot and humid a lot of the time, but sometimes it was exactly like this. And no matter what, the job still had to be done. The mission had to go on. The Allies had to make those advances, push back the enemy, and give Europe its freedom back. We think of the extreme costs a lot of the time, like the life-altering wounds or the thousands who gave their lives in pursuit of that mission. But there's also, among the survivors, the personal sacrifice that they gave in terms of putting themselves through the absolute worst human, mental, emotional, and physical conditions imaginable. That, unfortunately, is what it has cost to maintain the rights and freedoms that we now get to enjoy today. It's the 15th of December, 1943. In Italy, Allied forces are battling fierce German resistance as they advance northward, discovering that the underbelly of Europe is not so soft as their commanders-in-chief had hoped. As winter approaches, tanks from C Squadron 11th Canadian Armored Regiment, the Ontario Regiment, join C Company Royal Vendeuxième Régiment, or Vendus, in securing the west flank of the attack on Ortona, where their comrades are trying to breach the eastern anchor of the Gustav Line, a defensive perimeter meant to deter an Allied advance on Rome. In their way stands the German 1st Fallschirmjäger Division, a parachute unit that was among the most tenacious and fanatical units in the German order of battle. For the Ontarios and the Vendus, the objective is to attack and hold a 3-story farmhouse called Casa Berardi, which is located along a vital road connecting Ortona with other German positions inland. With the Führer himself having ordered his forces in the area to hold Ortona at all costs, the Canadian troops could expect nothing less than a fight to the last. The initial attack to capture Casa Berardi had been challenging, and by 3:00 p.m. on the 15th of December, the Canadian forces had been badly mauled. Only 4 of the Ontario's tanks were operational, and the Vendus had only 15 soldiers left active. German forces had cut them off from their lines, with no ability to resupply ammunition or evacuate the wounded. The morning was quiet, leading them to think the German units besieging them may have withdrawn. Little do they know, 200 troops of the German 1st Fallschirmjäger Division lie in wait with tank and artillery support, preparing to launch a vicious counterattack to dislodge them from Casa Berardi for good. All right, welcome to Casa Berardi. This is one of those few instances where the number of reenactors on the field is almost exactly the same as we're left in real life. Having only 15 personnel left to man this vital position that the Canadian forces had fought so hard for in the first place and have to hold on to protect the advance on Ortona along the eastern coast of Italy is nothing short of a monumental challenge. The Canadian defenders are caught by surprise when they are suddenly hit with withering German fire. Despite the intensity, though, they refuse to give ground to the enemy, holding their position with tenacity. A Vendus officer, Captain Paul rallies his surviving troops and calls for tank support, making the Germans pay for every step toward Casa Berardi.
Nous sommes attaqués. Envoyez les chars. Oui, monsieur. Ils sont en route.
For context, Fallschirmjäger translates to paratrooper. Now, we tend to think of paratroopers as being pretty advanced and elite troops, and that is certainly the case above and beyond the regular rank and file of the German Heer Land Army. Even in this case, even though the 1st Fallschirmjäger Division had not been involved in an actual airdrop operation since much earlier in the war, they are still very much at the forefront of the German fighting forces in Italy, and they're holding the line firmly as the Allies are pushing north. They're certainly among the more fanatical and enthusiastic troops in the German land forces, and they're certainly not going to give up a fight. And in this case, they've thrown around 200 of their personnel in against 15 infantry personnel who are surviving on the Canadian side, along with a few armored vehicles who at this moment consist only of a Fox armored car and a heavy utility wireless truck that are not even meant for directly engaging enemy armored vehicles. despite those overwhelming numbers, despite the Canadians' best efforts are gradually pushing them back. Being a bit more spread out in a forward positions with so few personnel makes it very hard to maintain that position, so consolidating further back is always more stable within reason, but sometimes you just run out of room to fall back to. And the Canadians have to make sure that they don't do that. Germans are pressing the attack with some infantry moving in along the background flank. All the more advancing down the center with machine gun support from their own halfback, and tank support from the Panzer III and the foreground, and the Sturmgeschütz 3. MG-42 and MG-34 are certainly not something the Canadians want to be caught in the open against. Firing between 900 and 1,200 rounds a minute, respectively, they will easily cut any infantry platoon down to size.
Seeing that they are going to need even more firepower, Major Smith calls sign Peter Roger Charlie 1 gets on the radio. Back at the Ontario's regimental headquarters is his counterpart from the British 392nd Battery, 98th Field Regiment, Royal Artillery, call sign George Peter Able 22, who relays his instructions to British M7 police crews to send devastating cannon fire to halt the attack.
Hello, George Peter Able 22. This is Peter Roger Charlie 1. The Jerry's are right on top of us and your best are running. We need fire support now. Please respond. Over. Hello, Peter Roger Charlie 1. This is George Peter Able 22. Help is on the way. Send fire mission coordinates. Over. Hello, George Peter Able 22. We need as much high explosive as you can send at 32143. Over. Acknowledged. Stand by for fire mission out.
With the Germans encroaching closer, the ground forces, the Canadian ground forces have called upon their tried and true friends of the 392nd Battery, 98th Field Regiment, Royal Artillery, who are based a few kilometers away with M7 Priest self-propelled artillery vehicles. The museum actually has a Priest in its collection that is on display. I encourage you to check it out after the battle, but to give you a quick summary, the Priests are equipped with 105mm howitzers that can fire out to a range of 11 kilometers, creating devastating area of effect destruction, especially in large numbers. 392nd Battery would actually stay with the Ontarios in particular well after the Battle of Casa Berardi.
George Peter Able 22. This is Peter Roger Charlie 1. Where's that artillery? Over. Peter Roger Charlie 1. This is George Peter Able 22. Here comes the ring. Button up. Get ready to move. Standing by for service. Out.
Now with the artillery support having come in, Germans are, but they're still trying to press their attack, seeing as they had the advantage in numbers and equipment.
Ontario's under the command of Major Smith. Their machine guns spare no one, cutting down many German soldiers on the open ground. But it is not enough. The enemy keeps coming, an unstoppable force encountering an immovable object. The question now becomes, which one is going to give way first? Captain Triquet was determined to make sure it would be the Germans. Fearlessly encouraging his men through the maelstrom, he rallied them with a statement that is now a key theme of Canadian Army tactics.
The Ontario station nearby is now responding to a call for help from the field and are moving on detail to directly engage the German armor, and it's gradually turning the tide between them and the artillery support. You see in the background the Stuck 3 has been taken out, and the Ontario is following fast and furious.
We are still under fire. Over. Yes. Fire again now. Over. Second fire mission over.
Right, the 392nd Battery delivered another fire mission, and the Ontarios are advancing forward now with their Shermans to directly engage the Panzer III that's still remaining. Panzer III having mostly been an interwar period tank design that is now becoming a bit outdated by late 1943, the Sherman is able to take the upper hand, engage it directly, and push it back. Now with only one tank left, and taking heavy casualties, the Germans are losing their initiative. It's a slow and steady fight. The Ontarios are pushing their way forward. The Ford Blinks joining the Sherman foreground. Sherman still firing away, and the Panzer's taken out at last. No German armor left on the field. The Germans have lost their initiative and are now in the retreat.
This is Peter Roger, Charlie 1. Always second to a right, Peter Roger, Charlie 1, out.
Although the Van Deus and the Ontarios had successfully stopped this attack, the battle for Casa Berardi was far from over. The two units spent the rest of the day completely cut off from their supply lines, running dangerously low on ammunition. Thanks to the creative thinking of the Ontario Regiment's Captain Leonard Knowles, 7 Shermans loaded with supply crates set off for Casa Berardi at midnight, arriving early the following morning on the 16th of December. Captain Knowles and his tanks stayed in the area conducting further patrols, during which he was shot by a sniper and had to be evacuated. Captain Knowles and Major Smith both received the Military Cross for their conspicuous gallantry, while Sergeant Ross Clark received the Military Medal. Most notably, though, Captain Paul Tiquet of the Van Deus received the Victoria Cross, the highest military award in the still stands today. A special plaque recognizing Captain Tiquet's valor and a memorial for the soldiers who fell in its liberation.
And that was the Battle of Casa Berardi. Despite somewhat being in the periphery of the Battle of Ortona that would follow right on its heels on the Italian coast in the following days, the Battle of Casa Berardi is a pivotal moment in the history of the Van Deus and the Ontarios especially, and it is a battle honor that those regiments share, and especially Captain Tiquet's VC is certainly a point of pride for the Van Deus in particular. Now, thank you very much for joining us for this reenactment this morning and braving the rain to enjoy the show. We hope you appreciated the depiction and that you found it exciting. As for the rest of the museum, there's lots to see indoors. If you feel you need a break from the weather, please download our Canadian Tank Museum app from the App Store or Google Play and scan the QR codes that you see on our exhibits and vehicles to enjoy our free audio guide. There's plenty more fascinating stories to explore all around the grounds. And we'd certainly like to thank All About Web Services for their support in developing that app and having it ready for you to use today, free of charge, on the App Store and Google Play. Just search Canadian Tank Museum and you'll find us. There's also plenty of other reenactors, third-party exhibitors, and guest museums that you can see both around the field and in the museum building itself. I'm Sam Richardson. I'm the curator of the Canadian Tank Museum. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Stay tuned for our Gulf War reenactment later this afternoon. Thank you.
Awesome show, lads.